All right. Well, good morning. Um, I'll wear my hood up here. I'll look like a monk, I guess. Mm. Mornings are tough with whatever this thing is. Uh, anyway, there's Rocky. There he is, worshiping the heater. He's a heater worshiper. Are you a worshiper of heaters? Yeah, he loves the heater. Anyway, this is good morning, and it is 7:17 a.m. on Sunday, February the 9th, in the year of our Lord, 2025. Okay, now, I'm going to give you guys a little update on the Buy Me a Coffee thing. I'll let you know what's happening and where I'm at with it and what has come into the fund at this moment in time. I'll let you know what's in the fund. And well, roughly, I can't remember the exact number now because there's change and stuff. It's as of course what they do is they take out fees, too, because they got to get their cut for handling the transaction and so on. That's the business they're in, so that's understandable. I can't say I begrudge them that, and they don't take out a huge amount or anything, but they do take out some. So I'll outline it all as best I can. I can tell you right now that 3 people have contributed, and I can't remember all 3 names, so I'm not going to say their usernames too, so it's hard sometimes to remember, but I'm not going to say the names for that reason, because I can remember one of the 3 names, so it would be wrong of me to, if I can't mention everybody, I shouldn't mention anybody. But I will say thank you to those 3 individuals. I'm grateful to you. The money that comes in, we're at this point, and it will change depending on what needs arise, but the money that comes in at this point, at least, is going to go into propane, for one thing, and also to pay down some bills, because I've accumulated more debt from buying propane when I don't have any money. That's the main thing that spurred me to create the Buy Me a Coffee, because I realized I'm on this treadmill and I can't get off it. It doesn't matter how hard I work in the summertime or anything. I can't make enough money or save enough money to get out from under this situation on my own. I do want to make it clear that I don't want anybody giving me money they can't afford to part with. If I find out that's happened, I'm going to feel pretty awful about it. Now, with the pension that I do get from the government, the small pension, I haven't informed my social worker of this fund yet. I also haven't transferred any money from the fund into my bank account. I'm going to need to inform my social worker before I do that. And also, right now, my payments are under review because naturally the Buy Me a Coffee site, it could be used for people with bad intentions. It could be used by criminals. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Pardon me. It could be used by criminals, for transactions that aren't of a good nature, we'll say. It could be used for any number of nefarious purposes. And so right now what they're doing is they're vetting me, and they're deciding whether or not they're going to allow my account to remain. Right now I'm under review, basically. According to their site, a review can take anywhere from 24 hours to 7 days. And once that review is completed, I think at that point I can start transferring funds into my bank account. But like I say, I also want to notify my social worker with the pension before I start transferring funds and see where I stand there, because and also, like, if I put funds in there and then she asks me for bank statements and things like that, and then I tell her, it's going to look dishonest. It's going to make me look like I was hoping to put something past her or whatever. So I'm going to definitely notify her before I go ahead and start transferring funds, just for that reason. And then she can advise me as to how I should report the income and so on. Now, I think I'll be allowed to keep all of the income, but even that I'm not sure about, especially right now because I'm not really making any money. But she can tell me if that income should be included with my business income, reported once a year, or whether it has to be reported once a month from this particular fund or what. She can let me know that anyway. The rules in Canada right now have changed with regard to working when you're on a pension or having income or whatever. And we're allowed to keep a lot more than we used to be. I think we can earn up to $1,000 before they start clawing money back from us now. I think that's what it is, but I'm not sure. Anyway, I'll tell you where the fund is at now. I don't expect the fund to ever be that big. I don't imagine it will ever be that, but I'll tell you where the fund is at right now anyway, is what I'll do. Right now, there are free contributors. The fund is at $145, although because of fees, the fund is actually at $137. Now, I think the fact that they've already started taking fees, to me, that means they probably intend to approve my account, but they probably have some process to go through before it's official. As I don't imagine they'd start clawing back fees for an account that, in a way, doesn't exist yet because they haven't approved it. So, now I don't know what the process is if they say, no, we've decided not to approve your account. I'm guessing at that point that the account would disappear. Now, whether that means that I'm allowed to keep what was already put into the account, or whether that money goes back to you people who contributed it, I honestly don't know how that works. I'm hoping that it'd be one of the two things, because I figure if you contributed it, you wanted me to have it, or you wouldn't have done so. And failing that, you don't want the Buy Me a Coffee fund to have it. So, you didn't contribute it for them. Like, I think you can understand that they're going to take a fee because they're handling the transaction. Just like any other business that handles a transaction that acts as a go-between, they take a fee because that's how they make their living, So I think everybody can understand that. And the fee isn't huge. Out of $145 contributed, 137 of it is apparently mine. That you guys have contributed, the free who have contributed so far. So now at 137, 38, 39, 40, 2. See, this is how I do my math on my fingers here. Okay, so they've taken $8 out of $145 of contributions. They've taken $8. Like I say, that's not too bad, really. But here's the thing. I'm hoping that failing them saying, we don't approve your account, but you can keep what's already in there. It's just that you won't be getting any more through us. I'm hoping failing that they'll say, no, your account, we're not approving it, and you can't have the money. But we are going to send the money back to those who contributed it. That would be the decent thing to do, really. Of course, I'm guessing if they've already taken fees, that anybody who contributed would be getting a lesser refund than what they contributed. It's a little bit lesser anyway. Or maybe they'll refund the fees. I really don't know, but um, I'm hoping to know more soon, and I'll let you all know when I know. Now, there is a button there that tells me I can transfer the funds, but then I don't want to hit that just yet because I still have to send a message to the social worker. And also, I want to read up a little more on how to do it because I don't want to screw up and have something happen and the funds get lost in the system or something like that. And I'm not that great with stuff like this, especially when I'm learning. I remember one time trying to do an e-transfer thing. Oh, it was horrible. Made so many attempts at it that eventually the bank actually seized the funds because they thought there was some sort of fraud going on. Then had a terrible time trying to get them released. I don't like doing e-transfers at all for that reason. I just couldn't understand how it works, and I kept screwing it up. And then the bank said, "We're seizing the funds. We think there's something weird going on here." Had a bad time getting the funds unfrozen, so that I could complete the transaction. And then I never did another e-transfer after that. I just said, hell with this, I would sooner drive over to your house and hand you cash than try doing that again. Even if you live 400 miles away, I'd sooner do that. It'd be less trouble than doing these e-transfers. So suffice it to say, I'm a bit of a technological Luddite. But I'm going to do a little more studying before I attempt to retrieve the funds, just because I want to know that what I'm doing, that I'm following the correct procedure so that I don't get myself into that situation with this thing. Anyway, I'll update you all on all of that once I've done those things that I know I need to do. And I'll update you as to what the social worker has said about it as well. And well, what else? Anyway, I can tell you, out of $145 has been contributed, and this is between free contributors. And of the $145, 137 and change. I forget the exact number now. It's like 137 something. And there's a few cents or whatever due in there. Remain after Buy Me a Coffee has taken their fees. I've got the heat on. I've had it on all night, but mornings are tough. It's like everything settles in my lungs, I guess, overnight. So I'm going to be spending the next couple hours just hacking and wheezing and coughing and stuff. But anyway, that's where we're at. So anyway, I'd like to say thank you to everybody who contributed. And like I say, I do believe in accountability. I believe you need to know that your money isn't going for cocaine and hookers, for Rocky, or anything. I'm not renting Rocky, a female in Heat, or, it's not all going to catnip, we're not doing that. And so I need you to know that anyway, that the money is going to go to things that are necessary. And, at the moment, it's going to go to things to survive, really, because that's the main thing at this time, is just to get through this winter. And any money after that goes into the account will be will go to various things. I don't know yet exactly what. Some may go to, building the truck into a camper or to repairing the truck. The truck currently needs $900 just in transmission work alone. That doesn't include the fact that it needs 4 new tires because the tires are bald. It's like driving on racing slicks at this point. And the thing is, once the tread disappears, it isn't long before the belts appear. And once that happens, it isn't long before the air starts to show. Before the air appears, because they wear down pretty quick once the tread is gone. So, and it's winter time too here, and the roads are bad. So, as you can imagine, I think the only thing that keeps the truck on the road really is just the sheer weight of it, because it's a very heavy truck. So, I think it's just the sheer weight of that truck that's keeping it from going sideways off the road. Plus, of course, the driving skill of yours truly. Well, actually, I say that kind of making fun of myself, but I actually am pretty good. Like with vehicles like that, with big, heavy rear-wheel drive vehicles, I actually am really good. Put me into a modern small car, like an economy car with, very light and with really touchy steering and stuff, and I'm a disaster. You'd be better off with a drunk person behind the wheel. I can't drive one of those things at all. I'm all over the road, and I can't seem to... But put me in a big, heavy old vehicle, a big, heavy old truck, a commercial truck, or some other old truck, or in an old car, something that was made back in the mid-'80s or beyond, going back in the history, especially if you put me into a car made back in the 40s. So you put me behind the wheel of any car made in the 40s. And, and you put me into one of those and I'll outdrive just about anybody. I can do things with those cars that would scare the hell out of you, really, some of the maneuvers I can do with cars like that. And I've always been told that those cars are really hard to drive and that modern cars are easy to drive. But I found it just to be the opposite. I find with the old cars, you have so much more control. And they work in a way that's more, even though there's more to it, in the sense that you've got to push a clutch and, shift to pull a gear shift lever, and, to start them, you've got to know how to work a clutch and a hand throttle, and you got to go through all that to start them, and a two-part ignition system and all that. Once you have those skills, once you have, it's kind of intuitive, really, how to set the carburation up, which is the air-fuel mixture, depending on the conditions you're starting the thing under and so on, whether it's a cold day in the winter or a hot day in the summer, and whether it's already been started that day or it's been sitting all night and it's cold or whatever, It's just intuitive. You get to know how far out the pull of those knobs, and how to go about starting the thing. But anyway, honestly, though, I can tell you that, the fact that there is play in the steering with those old cars and stuff like that, actually, it's more, I think, the way we're supposed to be, the way we work as human beings, I don't think having a wheel where if you just move it a millimeter means you're going to go across the line and hit the shoulder on the opposite side of the road is really the way. That may be the way a robot would drive, but it's not the way a person should be driving. And I often wonder when I see these modern cars spin out of control if it isn't because they're just not really built to be driven by people, whereas the old cars were. Now, of course, with the old cars, if you got into an accident, you could be impaled by the steering post. You'd be throwing through the windshield. You could be throwing out a door. A door could pop open. You could be throwing out a door. You'd be, throwing head first into a steel dashboard. It wasn't pretty, and I mean, I had old cars that I knew if I ever got into a serious accident, I was done. I remember when I had the 47 Dodge and I had to get it safetied, the mechanic that did that work, he told me, because I had one rear window and I had a window in the back that wouldn't roll down. There was a problem with the window regulator. And he told me I can't pass it until you fix that. And I told him, I said, well, the rest of them roll down fine. And he said, it doesn't matter. They all have to roll down or it won't pass. And I said, well, why is that anyway? And he said, well, it's because if you ever get into a wreck, you're going to need to be able to go out a window. And I said, possibly if you can't open the door. And I said, well, look, I said, if I get into a wreck in this thing, do you honestly believe I'm going to be in any shape to climb out a window? Plus, I said, any wreck that bends this car up, I said, look at this thing. I said, any wreck that bends this car up that badly that the doors won't open anymore. I said, I'm not going to survive. If it does that to this car, what do you think it's going to do to this sack of meat standing in front of you? And I said, all you got to do is look at history and you'll know what it'll do to me. So I said, plus any accident that would bend all this heavy steel up like that is going to pop the windows out of the car anyway. I said, there isn't going to be a piece of glass left in this car if it gets bent up that badly. And he just looked at me and he said, right? You're correct on all three things. I'll pass it. That was that. Now, after he passed it, I did actually manage to cobble together a new window regulator using parts from a window regulator out of a 1950 Plymouth that was in a wrecking yard. I was able to build a regulator for my 47 Dodge. I couldn't transfer the regulator from the Plymouth directly into the Dodge because they weren't exactly the same, but I was able to use some parts from the Plymouth one and cobble it together. And then I got a friend of mine who did welding to weld the thing in a place where it needed to be welded. And I put it in there, and the window would roll up and down just smooth as anything. It fixed it. But anyway, so I did repair that after the fact, but still, yeah. Like I say, I do find the old stuff a lot easier to drive anyway. I'm told it's harder, but I don't find that to be the case, really. And I've driven both. I've driven modern vehicles and I've driven vehicles that were quite old like that. But anyway, where I was going with this is the old truck, I think the only reason it actually stays on the road with conditions being the way they are is just the weight of the damn thing. And like I say, to a degree, also my skill, because I actually am really good with vehicles like that. And I have had a couple of times where the truck started to do this or that, and it didn't get very far before I got that thing back under control. Whereas if another person had been driving it, they might have panicked and done something stupid, overcorrected the steering or something, and got themselves into trouble. But anyway, that's not to brag. I don't like to brag. I'm just saying that with the old vehicles, I do have some abilities with the old vehicles is all, and that's probably part of it. But anyway, the truck does need tires, and that's probably going to be over $1,000, by the time the tires are put on it, and that's going to have to be done this year. Pardon me with all my snorting. But there's a whole bunch of things coming up, and I've been worried about how I'm going to pay these things, because it seems like I say I just can't seem to save enough money doing what I'm doing to pay these things. I just can't seem to do it. Anyway, like I say, I know I'm looking at least $2,000, really, that I'm going to have to spend in the next year on that truck. just for basic repairs to keep it on the road. And then, of course, other things are going to happen because other things always happen. So you can take that 2,000 and you can pretty much expand that to 4,000 or 5,000, really. And that's been my concern anyway, is I don't know how I'm going to pay that. So, like I say, I'll use this fund probably to help with that. And if there is money left over, I'll use it to start paying down these debts along with money that I earn. I've been trying to put a percentage of what I earn when I am working in the summertime into, because I do earn a lot of money when I'm working. But the trouble is, I'm only getting caught up for all the debt I got into over the course of the winter buying propane and whatnot. The same thing happened last year. Plus, of course, I don't have my savings anymore because that all went into the truck. Now, on the work front, I know the neighbors over here have a bunch of work for me again. Also, the people who hired me last year, they've been in touch with people that I know, with the neighbors over here, because they know the neighbors over here. And I got the job because I got recommended by the neighbors. And now what happened was they decided that I probably wasn't physically strong enough because they to do all the work they needed, because they needed to have huge boulders moved around and stuff like that. And they decided that they didn't figure I'd be up to that. And they were probably right, really. I probably don't have the strength to do that. I have ways of moving heavy things. Like when you're not very strong physically, you come up with ways of doing things. I can be pretty creative with how I do things. And I probably could move them, but it would take its toll on me, And anyway, they were concerned about that, so they thought, well, we can't have him doing that. He's basically a kind of a rundown old guy. We can't have him doing that. And so I did work there a little bit, helping them cleaning up the property and things like that, dealing with just, leaves and plants that had to be thinned out and weeds and stuff like that. However, I hadn't, they had a limited amount of work for me. And so beyond, working there for a few days, I really didn't get any work there. Now, the man that owns the property, he likes me, and he was really happy with the work I did do. He just didn't think I'd be up to doing the other work is all. And like I say, he was probably right about that. But the work I did, he was happy with, and he was happy with the fact that I was punctual and honest, and that I actually did work hard. And so, it's not like he has to be standing over me making sure that I'm doing my work or whatever, like I work hard and I work consistently. And, you can walk away from me and leave me alone for an hour and come back and you'll see real progress. You'll know that I have been working in that time. So, like I say, all of that to say that the man really likes me. Actually, I really like him too. I get along really well with the guy, and I have a lot of respect for him. He's a former Royal Corps of Engineers man with the Canadian Armed Forces. So very knowledgeable, a very talented, very knowledgeable man. And I've enjoyed my conversations that I've had with him and stuff. So like I say, I have a great deal of respect for the guy. I like the guy. I have a great deal of respect for him. And anyway, he said he wants to have me come back in the spring to help with the spring cleanup and all that. Because, when you have a property, especially in this climate, in the springtime, you've always got pieces of trees and all kinds of crap on the ground that needs to be taken care of. So he wants me back to do all that in the spring. So I've got that in all likelihood coming up within the next, well, probably in April or May, somewhere in there. Plus, I'll be resuming work at the property over next to this property um, around the same time. And they have work for me all year round because they have the trails in the forest. I had made videos of those trails before. You got to go back a ways to see those, but I had done that. And there's always different things. She grows things. She's quite a horticulturalist. The lady is. She has greenhouses and she has rock gardens and different things all over the property where she's growing things. And so every year, I do a bunch of weeding and a bunch of other things like that because these people are in their 80s now. And again, I have a great deal of respect for them. I can't say we agree on everything. That they are very much believers in the system, and so, they're old school. They believe that the police never lie and are always ethical. They believe that you can go to the system for help if you need it, and no bad will come of it, and so on like that. In my case, I don't trust the system at all, and I don't trust the police, and I have my reasons for that. But I know they respect my work ethic and that I'm honest and everything. But there's a part of them that has trouble believing when I say that the police have caused me trouble, and that's why I don't turn to them when there's a problem or whatever. I know they have trouble believing that because that just hasn't been their experience, and it's not what they've been conditioned to believe throughout their lives. And that man also is a former military man. That's actually how they met. The lady's actually British, and they met in France when she was working in France in the 1960s, and he was stationed over in France with the Canadian Armed Forces. In the 1960s, they were still cleaning up the mess from World War II. In fact, even now, they're still cleaning up the mess from World War II. Even now, unexploded ordnance and things like that are being found, And so, anyway, he's very knowledgeable. He's similar to the man that I work with out, his friend who he recommended the job, who he recommended me to. He's very similar to that guy anyway that I worked for a little bit last year. I'm very knowledgeable. He's still very, very decent sort of a fella. And in fact, he works at our local Legion branch here. He's the guy that if a veteran has an issue with the government or is in need of assistance or whatever, he's the guy that navigates that system for them. If you're a veteran and you go to our local branch of the Royal Canadian Legion, and let's say you need financial assistance, well, if you go to the government on your own, they're just going to give you a runaround, and you're going to get frustrated, and you're probably going to give up, and that's really what they're hoping you'll do. But this guy, he knows how to work the system. He knows who to talk to. He knows how to fill out the paperwork. He knows when the bureaucrats are feeding him a line of bullshit, and he'll call them out on it if they are doing that, and so on. And so he acts as your go-between then. If you go to the Legion and ask for help, he's the guy that you'll meet, and he'll find out your story. He'll find out what your situation is and what your needs are, and then he will take that to the government, and that's what he does. He does this every week. He's dealing with the government on behalf of these people, and so he knows how to, and he knows what telephone number to call, what bureaucrat to talk to, what paperwork needs to be filled out, and how it needs to be filled out, and so on. And so that's what he does. And again, he's a man in his 80s. These are not young people. That's the reason they have me there doing this stuff. This is all stuff that they would do on their own otherwise. That guy, he practically built that house. When they bought the house, it was a little bungalow. Now it's a 2-story house. When they needed more room, he built another story on the top of it and stuff, He built a house for his daughter down the road. He literally built the place. So, this is not a stupid man, I'm not completely stupid myself, but I couldn't build a whole house. I wouldn't be able to do it. Now, see, he still has the knowledge to do all these things, and I've learned a great deal from the man, too. He's taught me quite a few things, you know. But he just doesn't have the physical ability anymore. He's broken his hip, and he's got an artificial hip, and it's hurting him all the time, and he has various problems anyway. You know, he's an 80-something-year-old man. If you live to be 80-something years old, you're going to have problems. But he still has the knowledge upstairs. Up here, he's good. It's just that everything from here down is screwed up now, you know. And so, and that happens. You know, you live to be old enough, that will happen. It'll happen to everybody if we live to be old enough. And some of us may have a squirrel running around upstairs where our brain used to be, too, by that time. You know. Anyway, bottom line is, this is getting to be a long video, so I'm going to shut it down. But I just wanted to update y'all, to say good morning, and to update you all on where the fund is, where the Buy Me a Coffee fund is. I'll update y'all periodically, let you know what's there and what the money is going for and so on. Because like I say, I do believe in accountability. And I don't want you to think that the money will go to something it shouldn't go to. I don't want you to think you're giving me your money and then I'm pissing it away on stupid stuff or on things that it shouldn't go to. And so I'm going to keep you guys updated on that anyway. But that's it anyway. There you have it. Rocky's over there laying on the thing here. This video's turned into quite a long video, and I've gotten off on some tangents about old cars and about, I can't make this screen expand when I do that. I was hoping to get a closer up picture of Rocky. Anyway, went on a few tangents there about this, that, and the other thing. So I'm going to shut it down now, and we're at 37 minutes, so I'm going to shut it down now, and we'll see you all later. All right, bye for now.